And we are live.
Yay! No, my old brain did not forget how to talk. Yeah, forget how to do the sign in on these. Richard has been sick, not just in the head.
Quite, yeah, always.
Yeah, you'll hear his voice slightly lower, and you'll hear him clear his throat. But you'll also,
Probably.
keen observers, will hear me doing an occasional cough. He's not the only one that got sick. He did not give it to me unless it was a computer virus that made its way through the phone. But mine wasn't nearly as bad as his. Mine was a day or two, and this is just what's left of it. But by the way, I am old new dude, and he is
Richard York, Asher's trueborn son.
all right. And we got Krista
It's the
Crow
crow.
waving from the wall, back from a 3 week ranging. If you post up the next
Uh,
one, I'll read it. I can't get it on mine.
I don't see it.
Okay, that's it.
Yep.
Oh, well, it's just
StreamYard thing.
yeah. Give it a couple minutes in case somebody else pops in there. What we're talking about before we hit the live button were the potential fathers of Jon Snow and Rob, um, determining who was born first. I brought up the
Yeah.
point that George usually does something. Oh, okay, there's mother. Are you
Mother
all
running.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not exactly.
I'll go ahead. You go ahead. That's Christy Angel giving good evening chat. Old new dude Richard. Uh, kiss emoji, heart emoji. Um, yeah, Richard, you want to tell them? They probably
Yeah.
missed what I said.
Thanks for trying to take over some of the reading of the comments there. So, yeah, my
I've
voice is
been.
definitely not 100%, and it's probably dumb that I'm trying to do this, but what the heck?
Um, well, my wife says I never shut up, so hopefully I can pick up a lot of this. And you'll hear him clear his throat. His voice is down. He might have to leave and get another drink because he'll probably chug that one. But you'll hear me cough a little bit. He's been sick a lot longer. I had a day or two under the weather, and I've just what's left of it, just still trying to leave the body type thing. But I was saying before we got started and hit the live, we were talking about the potential fathers and the ages of John and Rob, which, as the story goes, between Rob and John doesn't change a whole lot. Rob's dead. John maybe dead.
Well, he
According to what
probably is dead. I
said
mean,
about
unless,
always thinking,
although I guess, like, yeah, like Order the Green Hand and George are both implied that he might not be dead. But
yeah. I mean, I'll go ahead and tell you, there's a lot of people that bash that video on the premise of what they're saying. But that video gave me the idea for my first video. So I think highly of the video. I do like the premise of it. I do like the way that it discusses some of the ways that George could mess with us
well,
with
they tell
magic.
you right at the beginning of the video that it's sort of challenge accepted, right? That George says that Jon Snow can still be alive, that it's possible to interpret the books that way. Challenge accepted, essentially, is there, I guess I'm sounding like
And
How I Met Your
I
Mother there.
think
But,
yeah, I think they
anyway,
came up with a plausible thought experiment on how John could still be alive. I mean, with George, we had
yeah. So
unreliable narrator.
when people refute the premise, when the premise is George's premise, that's what I kind of like. That doesn't make any much sense to me. Like no, Jon Snow is definitely dead. George says he's not. Like George says that you should be able to interpret his book as Jon Snow is alive. And so if George says that you should be able to interpret his book as Jon Snow is alive, then you should be able to interpret the book as Jon Snow is alive. And there should be a way to do that. And like I said, they're basically saying challenge accepted, right? George
Right.
says, George is strongly implies, right? Somebody asked him about Jon Snow and whether he's going to come back. And George goes, oh, you think he's dead, do you? Right. So George clearly doesn't think that you have to interpret the books as Jon Snow is dead. So when people come
Right.
back and say, "Oh no, you must interpret the books as Jon Snow is dead," I'm like, "Hello, welcome back, thank you." Or Henlo,
Hey.
actually. Um, yeah, and
Well, I think that this way, the people that refuse to think that Jon Snow could possibly still be alive are the same ones that refuse to reach across the aisle on the, is it R plus L equals J or M plus A? That they're on one side of the hill. They refuse to climb to the top and shake hands and say, okay, hey, there's some stuff there that proves yours. There's some stuff there that proves mine.
yeah, George likes to plant seeds in multiple
Yeah,
directions and leave things
see
ambiguous,
how the chips
leaves options
fall.
open.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, to say that there's no
Well,
way in this
of course, my
fantasy, futuristic, apocalyptic story
it's
that
kind of
Jon
similar
Snow.
to my other pet peeve. It's kind of similar to my other pet peeve, which is Joe the magician complaining about people interpreting George as misleading, deliberately misleading. And I'm like, um, uh, and of course the best analysis, according to George, of George's books is Adam Feldman's Myrni's Blot, right? And that's exactly his premise, right? His premise comes from, oh, once I realized George is deliberately trying to mislead us, I understood these books. And George is like, this guy gets it. This guy gets it 100%, right? And
Right.
so so yeah, that's it's kind of related to that, right? George
Yeah.
says you reject. George says you reject. Now they think that we're rejecting um, Jon Snow being Rhaegar and Lyanna's child, whereas I'm arguing that George has said that there's multiple correct answers, that is one of the correct answers, and that he's implied that the books in the show will be different on that, and that he specifically says it's exactly like Scarlett O'Hara having three children on the page and one child on the screen, and people are like, no, it's really not exactly like that. I'm like, yes, it is. George says it is. It is.
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't understand why him having multiple or various interpretations of the word on the page gives him the ultimate freedom as a writer to later on decide which one of those paths is the correct one when he writes on the page the definite, okay, it can't be this side or that
Yeah.
side. It's this one right here, and here's the path that got you there. And then the path that didn't get you to
Yeah.
this point
And
here, kind of.
I still find it a little weird that he seems to him that he's implied that he's stuck because he killed somebody he shouldn't have. Because it feels like, okay, let's say it's Aemon, right? I mean, that seems like one of the most um,
Yeah, that,
or to keep posting the question to us. Right, right. So, um, so let's say it's Eamon for a second.
mhm.
I find it. I don't see why you can't either have Walgrave be faking his amnesia type stuff, give some of the information to Sam, and then have Marwyn and Barristan have more information. I have a hard time understanding what Eamon would know that Walgrave and Marwyn and Barristan can't know, and then maybe it's Kevin. I've heard the theory that Kevin dying is really a problem because you can't really realistically maneuver things properly to show what would happen, maybe he started to write Cersei taking over and was like, no, this doesn't really politically make sense, and that I could see. He could be
Right.
having problems, but he tells us that he's written a clutch of Cersei chapters, right?
Right.
So it doesn't sound like he got stuck there. It sounds like he got way past that. So that
Didn't
doesn't
it
feel
make
like
it
that's
sound
right
like he
either.
finished Cersei's?
No, he said I finished a clutch of Cersei chapters, and now some people interpret that as he's done with Cersei, which I don't think that means that. But
I mean, on the Aemon front, right now, without, because he said he wasn't going to do it, he wasn't going to do any more new POV chapters. Um, Old Town, he's got one point of view character there. which is
Right.
Sam.
Well,
Which
maybe
doesn't.
two. Aaron might be there. The damp hair might be there.
Well, I mean, even if it's damp hair, that kind of if it is the unknown knowledge that the Citadel has on certain events, dragons, whatever
Yeah,
it is, in their
it feels too
library.
easy for Sam to still be able to find it, right? It doesn't feel like he can
Yeah.
get stuck there.
Right.
And
So yeah, that's gonna mess Sam up finding out the hidden knowledge in Old Town. Of course, Maester Aemon
I mean,
would
you've got
would
Walgrave, who
have
was
Sam.
friends with the Targaryen. You've got Walgrave, who was friends with the Targaryen prince. He could be faking his senility, right? And probably we've talked about how it makes the most sense to us. The Targaryen prince is in fact Aemon. He's the one that matters to our point of view at the Citadel. He's
Right.
the one that matters to the readers. Like they don't care about some Blackfire guy that was killed or whatever that precedents proposed. Like no, what's relevant at the Citadel is Sam, and the Targaryen prince is relevant to him is Aemon. So,
Well, I mean,
and
even if even if the loss of information and sanity is fake, that would still bring in a new POV character. Which I mean, Aemon's never been a POV character, has he?
no,
So that would bring, even if Aemon was alive, he would still have to bring in a new POV character, which is Aemon. Unless he's talking about not bringing somebody in that we haven't seen before, some mysterious
I
guy.
didn't necessarily interpret it as a POV related. It's just he
Yeah,
said he said that he implied he was stuck because he regretted killing somebody.
right.
The Clutch of Cersei chapter sounds like she laid some dragon eggs. Good point, Kirsty. I like that. Um, the So yeah, I have a hard time seeing how he got so stuck and why he thinks that bringing back a dead character could get him unstuck. Can you go through the timeline order events of
Oh, I mean,
Littlefinger, Brandon's fight, Tourney, Mad King burning Stark, Howland at the Isle of Faces, Tower of Joy, Ned getting married, Ned at Starfall? Sure. Do you want to try and take that, or do you want me to try and take that?
no. I think I can go through that.
So why don't you start with? Okay, so yeah, start with Littlefinger and Brandon
That's
fighting.
not where we need to start. We need to start at the tourney at Harrenhal. The actually Howland Reed going to the Isle of Faces comes
Well, the
before
first
that.
thing on that list is Littlefinger's duel with Brandon.
Right. It says the timeline / order of events. So out of what's
Right?
said, Howland at the
Littlefinger
Isle.
and Brandon.
What's that?
Littlefinger's duel is the first thing on that list, right? Isn't that the first one that happened?
No. Howland Reed
Littlefinger's
at the Isle
duel?
of Faces. Howland Reed at the Isle of Faces happens before the tourney at Harrenhal. The duel between Littlefinger and Brandon happens probably 6 months before the abduction of Lyanna.
Oh, really?
The tourney at
I
Harrenhal
didn't
is like
realize that the duel was. I thought the duel was before that.
no.
Okay.
I mean, because
Okay.
even though
So now,
you got the Mad King burning a Stark happens after Howland Reed goes to
no,
the
no,
Isle.
no, 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 no. No, I don't think you're right. Because here's my argument. Here's my argument here. All right. You have the Knight of the Laughing Tree.
Mm-hmm.
You have Rhaegar sent to fetch the Knight of the Laughing Tree.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then shortly thereafter, you have Rhaegar and Lyanna disappearing.
No, it's not
And then
shortly.
Brandon goes to King's Landing.
It's not shortly.
Huh?
You're looking at a year to 2 years between Harrenhal and the start of
Really?
Robert's Rebellion.
Timeline. There's somebody put this. Is it on the wiki? Is Westeros.org timeline?
Okay, let's get back to
Sorry.
what I was
Go
saying.
ahead. You let yours.
For Howland Reed to show up at Harrenhal when he does, he has to go to the Isle of Faces before Harrenhal even starts. The the tourney at at Harrenhal. So he's at the Isle of Faces. He leaves the Isle of Faces. Then he hears the sound across the water as he approaches Harrenhal that there's a tourney coming on. Then he's walking across the field to go see what it's all about. The three squires jump him. Lyanna saves him. Then you have the actions that happen at the tourney at Harrenhal.
Okay.
After the tourney at Harrenhal, Lyanna stays at Harrenhal. She does not leave to go back north. We, if I'm not mistaken, or believe that Rhaegar goes to Dragonstone. So that the potential is that he could sneak back in and see Lyanna. It is months, maybe.
Okay.
And then you have the
Okay.
Littlefinger Brandon fight. Then it's probably you got to have Littlefinger well enough to travel after the fight before. Like the theory is that he's at the end of the crossroads.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Okay.
Or is there ever any doubt?
No, you're definitely right. You're definitely right. No.
You're sick, man. You're my encyclopedia, but my encyclopedia.
No, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that was the timeline. No, I literally didn't realize when Brandon and Littlefinger dueled, but you're correct. So the year of the false spring is specifically the year of the tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and that is 281.
Right.
That's definitely true. And Littlefinger's duel is in 282. So yeah, you're definitely correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's early 282. So it's pretty quickly after that, but it's 282 when Rhaegar abducts Lyanna. So, and then
they needed the pass to get back to the Eyrie to be snowed out for the theory for Littlefinger to be stuck at the inn at the crossroads. I think that that's an excuse that the Three-Eyed Crow told Littlefinger to wait there.
Okay.
Then you have
Howland Reed. So Howland Reed at the Isle of Faces is the first one is the first one that happens.
Right.
And then the tourney.
Then tourney. Then the duel.
Okay. Then the duel. Okay.
Then Lyanna gets taken by whatever means by Rhaegar.
Rhaegar and Lyanna run off, and Littlefinger probably lies to Brandon about it, and Robert's Rebellion gets built on that lie because that results in the Mad King burning Stark and ordering the execution of Ned, right?
Yes.
And that's which is based on the fact that he believes that Ned and Robert are going to be spreading the same lie that Brandon was spreading. So therefore, he feels they're fomenting rebellion, and that's treason, and therefore they have to be executed because you can't really have people spreading that kind of lie.
Right.
Even if they believe it to be true.
Aaron refusing to take their head is considered the start of Robert's Rebellion.
Right. So Littlefinger is in fact after the tourney and before the Littlefinger duel is in fact after the tourney and before the Rhaegar and Lyanna. Okay.
Yeah.
And probably just before, essentially. In fact, he may have suggested to Brandon as he's being taken away, sent back, because he's nursed to health and then sent back, and it might be as he's being sent back, and maybe he's well enough to travel at that point, and he hears about it, and he tells Brandon that, hey, he's kidnapped her and raped her, when what he actually heard was that they ran off together, something like that, right? So it's built on that lie.
Yeah, it gives him his vengeance against Brandon for hurting him. So there's motivation there.
Right, because he knows he's going to get Brandon killed.
Right. Brandon goes to King's Landing, calls out and demands to face Rhaegar. He gets arrested.
So we know that Ned had to go call the banners. We know that he travels through the sisters, right? Mm-hmm. And at that point, he's traveling with Ashara Dane. We know that, right? And they get married because they've heard news. At some point they get the news that Bran and Rick are dead, just as Rob got the news that Bran and Rick are dead, and seeks the comfort of a woman that he's with, and does the honorable thing and marries her. Right.
At the weekend.
So that's probably during the travel somewhere as he passed through the sisters, and he's traveling between the sisters, and probably
it's
fairly
the
early on, before he even gets to the sisters, because the two of them are obviously at least betrothed and possibly married, based on the fact that they believe that she's pregnant at that point, or that he's getting her pregnant at that point, right? So we have the
well,
witnesses that he's getting Chardonnay pregnant at that
yeah.
point.
When it comes to Ned, though, you have to find a heart tree in that
Mhm.
scenario for the Wolf's Den
Right,
heart tree for Ned to say
right,
his pals in front of. But
right.
yeah. So
Yeah,
they
and
get
Bran
to
probably witnesses the marriage in what was going to be his fourth chapter in the Dance with Dragons, which got moved because it revealed too much, right?
yeah. So
And
okay.
of course, the show gives us John's parents getting married, which makes no sense which makes very little sense in terms of legitimacy of Jon Snow. The way they present it, what makes perfect sense if, in fact, his parents are Ned and Ashara, right? So the
Right.
show gave us both Aegon, born at the Tower of Joy of Rhaegar and Lyanna, and the show gave us Jon Snow's parents being legitimately married to the point where Jon Snow's not a bastard, right? And so
Right.
I believe those are the two important events, Aegon being born at the Tower of Joy. Actually, Val is probably more important than Aegon, but whatever. And because this is a story that's about female inheritance and the disinheritance of female leaders and the erasure from history of female leaders and female heirs. See Triple Dragons episode 1. But anyway, and 7 for that matter, because I'm talking about Val. But
Ned and Shara leave the Sistertons, the Sister Isles, go to White Harbor. Now, there's a couple of different scenarios that can not mess up the timeline, but determine how the timeline went. Ashara's at the Wolf's Den, to where she's protected.
I think she might go back to Starfall. She might make her way back to Starfall potentially, right? But Ned's trying to call the banners, and she's not staying with Ned.
He can either send the Ravens from Winterfell or send the Ravens from White Harbor, which gives him a little bit longer with Ashara.
You're going with the, and I do like their timeline. You're going with the Order of the Green Hand timeline and saying that she's at the Wolf's Den. I'm saying I think she tries to make it back to Starfall, probably does, because we're going to plant the secret. We need to plant her fake death at Starfall. So I think she probably does make it back to Starfall, because Ned is going to go to Starfall with the offspring at least one of the offspring from the Tower of Joy, and with Dawn, right? We know that's the end. So of these events, the last thing that happens is Ned goes to Starfall, right? We all know that happens after the Tower of Joy,
right? Now,
so Ned's gotten married on his way to calling the banners. Did we miss any of these events? Let's see if we got them all now. So, Howland Reed goes to the Isle of Faces before the tourney. Tourney is second. The duel is third of these events. The ones listed, the duel is third. Mad King burning Stark would be fourth of these. Ned's getting married because of the news. He has the exact same news that Rob has. The two people adjacent to him in the line of succession named Bran and Rick have been killed, have been betrayed by the person that he was trusting to help with, to be king, basically, right? And
Power of Joy.
Right. So then he gets married, calls the banners, they fight, they win the war. He goes to the Tower of Joy, right? And then he takes one of the three babies and Dawn, and he goes to Starfall. And then they spread the false rumor of Ashara Dane's death. She probably takes one of the babies. He takes Jon Snow. It's supposed to be a parallel with making someone give up their baby with Jon and Gilly. So I think that's all of them.
Yep, that's all of them. Now, on the who took what baby? Yeah. Ned took the only one that had the brown hair. Val at birth could have had a lighter shade of that honey hair into that golden, close to Targaryen color.
Well, but I don't know that he's traveling with Arthur. I think Arthur's taking the oldest daughter north right away. Thank you.
Now, my understanding is with the way that she acts, with having a paramour in men, Arthur is at the wall first. He can't have Val with him.
Well, that is something that I've always wondered. Like, what did they do with Val? Oh, okay. So you're going with the Illyria Dane. Okay. So so you're buying the. Okay. I can get on board with that. So
yeah.
Or the Green Hen's argument is that Val was posing as what's the betrothed of the Lightning Lord Beric Dondarrion. Beric Dondarrion, betrothed Dane, Illyria, Lady Illyria Dane, right? Okay,
Illyria,
and she's too young. She hasn't reached. She's under 16 probably. Hence, he can't marry her yet, and that's why there's a long-term betrothal. Okay,
so that puts
I can get on board with that.
roughly within a year of each other, definitely less than. Rob, John, Val, Aegon, Danny, Mira, out of the ones that we see that have actual words in the book. There are others that are in the book that are around that same age.
Yeah. So basically, obviously we believe this is a story about female heirs and so forth. Arpocel has to follow the most important concept of the books, which is that there's a female heir. So the oldest Arpocel baby has to be the one that the Danes care about, right? And the Danes represent Dornish and remembering Ashra as the Dione. So the Danes family watches Val initially. Eventually, they send her to be protected by Arthur. Okay.
But check this out, okay? With the rights, the crown should fall to Val because it's not because she's a woman; it was because she was the firstborn. That makes the House of the Dragon season 1 that much more.
Absolutely.
Was it
right, and they fake, and they even have the main original protagonist fake her spouse's death for political marriage, right? So, which is exactly what Ned does. Fakes his spouse's death because he has a political marriage and he's a bigamist, just like Rhaenyra in the show is basically a bigamist, is faked her original spouse's death.
Now, with the struggle of the Targaryens and originally was it page 411 of Fire and Blood that has the quote?
I can't remember. It's like 402 or something. I can't remember.
But you got the council at that went to Harrenhal that gave it to. I can't remember. I don't pay any attention to Targaryen's names. Was it Viserys? They gave the crown to Viserys instead of the queen that should have been.
Right. And Danny's brother is specifically named after him to tie this together, right?
So does that mean that we are going to see a struggle between Val and Aegon or we're going to see a struggle between all three on who gets?
I think it's mostly Arianne versus Myrcella.
Okay.
So Myrcella and Arianne are the ones that are set up as the Dance with the Dragons, in my opinion, right? And of course, if you believe as we do, that Myrcella has the blood to ride a dragon, then that makes a lot of sense. In fact, there's heavily foreshadowing that I'm going to take my dragon and I fly and attack the elephants, she tells us, right? And so that's heavy foreshadowing of the idea of Myrcella against Aegon, because the elephants represent the Golden Company and Aegon, right? And so, so the idea here is Arianne represents the female empowerment, trying to crown the female, right? And the Hightowers originally represented that. They, in fact, originally are the ones that arranged for Rhaenyra to be named heir over Daemon, right?
I just had a thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
The horn dragonbinder. What if that's not exactly what it does? Okay.
Oh, there's lots of theories that that's not what it does, right? Preston's theory is. Go ahead.
what if it breaks the bond? All right, we got Drogon with Danny. You got 2 dragons left in Marine. What if blowing the horn breaks the bond that those 2 dragons already have with Danny, even though it's not as strong as Drogon, it's still a bond. They fly away.
Sure.
One of them lands because it senses the blood in Marcella, and that is her dragon.
Sure.
Which would be probably the green one, I would think, with the green eyes of House.
Wouldn't that be interesting if, in fact, um, Rhaegar's son goes against Rhaego? Is it Rhaego? Is that his name?
I,
Rhaegon.
it's
Rhaegon.
it's
Is it Rhaegon?
right. I don't know, and it's I don't pay any attention to dragon stuff. I know I'd get bashed for it, but I mean, I'm a wolf guy.
Drogon. Names
Rhaegal.
Danny's dragons. Names of Daenerys
Yeah.
Targaryen's three dragons. Game of
Viserion.
Thrones animations. Sean Bean never narrates, only young Ned up till Tower Joe when he says he would have died if not for Howland, that he wanted to be Arthur as if a soul transfer happened involving those three. Interesting. What are the names of Daenerys Targaryen's dragons? Yeah, she specifically. Stupid ads are all over this thing. You can't scroll the part that you want to scroll. Oh, there we go. All right. Every time, oh, there it goes. It's working. The arrow keys wouldn't work for me. Of course, Drogon's named after Drogo. Viserion's named after Viserys. Rhaegal. Rhaegal. Okay, that's interesting. He's the one that there's. That's why I got it wrong because I assumed they only ended with the same, and so I said Rhaegon. I knew it didn't sound right, but he's just the only one that's not. Oh, Rhaegal. Weird. Anyway.
I think that's the dragon that's going to go to
Marcella.
yeah.
Okay. And wouldn't that be interesting?
Targaryen by name gets the red and black dragon.
Well, I do think it's funny that everybody's assuming that Danny is, it's Danny versus Aegon, and it's actually, I think it's more Marcella versus Aegon, but anyway. Because the princess and the queen.
Said about her taking her dragons and
yeah, she specifically talks about I fly my dragons and attack the elephants or something along those lines, right?
That's perfect for George.
Yep. He's heavily foreshadowed the idea that Marcella is actually the dragon rider, and she should be because she's being set up as right. So essentially, Ariane, who thinks of herself more as Rhaenyra, is actually setting up Marcella as Rhaenyra, and she's acting as the Hightowers, trying to crown the person who's actually going to be her opponent because she's going to wind up married to Aegon, which is what happens with the Hightowers. They marry Aegon after they try to crown Rhaenyra, right? So the princess and the queen are kind of backwards here in that most people refer to Ariane as the princess and Queen Marcella, but in reality, it's Ariane wants to be queen, and Marcella is usually referred to as Princess Marcella, right? And so, anyway, it's kind of an interesting and almost all the foreshadowing is in Ariane's storyline of the dates. So it makes a lot of sense for it to be that way.
Yeah, on Chrissy's Angels. When it comes to the Tower of Joy, I have a very strong belief that almost nobody dies at Tower of Joy. There might be 1, 2, maybe 3, but that's it. Nobody else dies. I think when it comes to that, the Sword of the Morning would have killed Ned if not for Howland Reed, however the words are, but if not for Howland Reed, I think Howland Reed squashes everything. It is basically a big powwow of, oh shit, this is what's coming for Westeros. The battle for the Dawn. I mean, he was at the Isle of Faces. He got insider information. He's inside trading. I mean, he can turn water to earth and earth to water and breathe mud, all the stuff that Howland Reed can do, and I believe yes, see past the glamour. But he stops everything. I mean, he
I believe he reminds the Kingsguard of what their oath is, right? To crown them is to kill them. I believe he reminds them to crown them is to kill them, and your oath is to not kill them, right? Your oath is not to maintain the Targaryen regime. Your oath is to protect these children, and you protect these children by not crowning them. And so
right.
I think that that's what he did is he reminded them.
But you also protect them by preventing the battle for the dawn. That
right.
is the OSHA. They're marching the wrong direction. So I mean, how do we get 3 of the people there? And it's not 3 Kingsguard going north. It's 2 Kingsguard and then Lord Willem Dustin that goes beyond the wall. He's the first one to go beyond the wall. He's the Lord of the North. He knows the ways of the wildlings. So he thinks at first, okay, I'm going to become king beyond the wall, but he can't quite pull it off. So that's when Sir Arthur Dane pulling the same stuff he did in the Kingswood, going north of the wall and then rallying all these different people under one person, one white tent, and he becomes king beyond the wall. But you got Arthur Dane and you got Hightower, the White Bull, going to the Night's Watch, and you could say that they went there maybe out of shame, but I don't. I think they went there. They were planted there. They were there to test the strength of the Night's Watch, be a relay of information between what's going on north of the wall to those that are south of the wall. I mean, so you, in my mind, you have Arthur Dane, Sir Gerald Hightower, Willem Dustin, Howland Reed, Ned, and then it's quite possible that the 4 men that was with Sir Willem, what's the Derry at you pointed out that I think that, I mean, they could definitely be maybe the other people that were there at the Tower of Joy that's protecting the little princess. So nobody died at the Tower of Joy.
Okay, that's an interesting idea. Huh. Okay, so I well let's actually for a second let's entertain Kirsty's theory. So Kirsty's theory is that there was a soul transfer happening involving who are the 3 things? Arthur, Howland, and Ned. She thinks.
What if the pact that was made there was cemented with? I mean, you always got the
sort of blood magic or something. Sure.
Yeah, there was some soul, because we know that the life fire is the.
I've definitely become more and more interested in Poodle's theory here too, right? Which is that it's not R plus L, that it's R plus L plus A, right? So so he thinks that there's some sort of weird blood magic involving Arthur and Rhaegar and Lyanna to form the offspring. Of course, he thinks it's just Dany, but I think it's the triplets.
Yeah. You tell him I
so
wrong.
I have. We've definitely discussed.
They all know who I am. Just tell me with me.
Okay. Anyway, but so anyway, now my preferred interpretation is, in fact, that Ned's men probably did die. I like Toodle's interpretation of the literal language, where he argues that the language says that the Kingsguard survived and that Ned's men died, and so by that logic, that Ned's men should be dead except for Howland Reed. But anyway, I know that you reject that because, for one thing, you got your torment theory and so forth. I'm open to that. I'm just saying that my preferred interpretation is Toodle's literal reading of the words that says that Ned's men died except for Howland Reed, and that the Kingsguard lived. But and that he argues that's the way English works, and that's what's written on the page, is that the Kingsguard lived and Ned's men died. But anyway, yeah, I mean, he does a pretty good job of spelling out. Look, guys, this is what these words mean. These means the King's Guard lived. Read the words on the page, and
Yeah.
this is how English works. This is what these words mean. And people are like, no, 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 the King's Guard are dead. He's like, that's not what the words mean in English. Anyway, but anyway, so I mean, he does do a good job of explaining that, read carefully what the pronouns that are being used there are saying. They are not saying the King's men are dead. They are saying that Ned's men are dead. But anyway, um, but anyway, my preferred interpretation. Now he wanted to be Arthur, so that's interesting because that I think is trying to tie us to the hypocrisy of Ned, right? So by what right does the wolf judge the lion? By what right, right? So the point being that Ned and Jamie are supposed to be the same in this. The concept of the King's Guard is that you are basically wed to the king, that you're not allowed to take another wife because your duty is to the king. And your job is to protect the king, and that is your oath in place of having a wife. And Ned has married Ashara Dane and then betrayed that oath to save the world to save the Westeros from the Mad King, right? So he's doing exactly what Jamie's doing, and then he's judging Jamie for doing what he did, right? Right, which is to go 100% against your solemn life oath, which in Ned's case is the marriage to Ashara Dane, and in Jamie's case is the King's Guard. Go 100% against that. Do exactly the opposite of what your oath for life is in order to stop the Mad King and save your family, right? And that's.
Do you think that Ned? You ever seen it where okay, you got a married couple where one of them cheats on the other one finds out, they're just blowing their top, and they're really ashamed because they cheated also. Does Ned going hard against Jamie, my man, because he sees that parallel, that he went against his oath and Jamie did the same thing? Do you think there was some inner
projection? The every accusation is the confession kind of thing that people like to say in politics and so forth. Sure.
You get a lot of that lately, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, he wanted to be. So he wanted to be Arthur. To me, reminds me of Jamie, right? Because he specifically said he wanted to be Arthur, but somewhere along the line he became the Spyling Knight, right? And so.
Yeah.
So it really reminds me. To me, that's tying him to the hypocrisy of being Jamie. And of course, I'm still kind of torn as to whether Devon or Davos is supposed to be is Davos supposed to be Tywin Lannister to Devon being Jamie, and we're supposed to be in the eyes of Tywin Lannister witnessing Jamie killing Stannis, or the Mad King rather. Jamie killing the Mad King or Devon killing Stannis, or because he's the hand of the king and his son is sworn to protect Stannis, and so I've always been torn. Is it Davos with his shortened fingers who's supposed to be paralleling Jamie, or in fact is he as the hand of the king supposed to be giving us the eyes of Tywin Lannister as Jamie kills the Mad King?
Okay, Davos is at the wall with Shireen.
So one of the reasons I bring this back up is that Preston was saying like several weeks ago, because of course, obviously it's been a while, but that it's really weird how the Metal chapter is really focused on making Devon into a major character. And, and then I got to think about it, because I've always been a little torn as to whether it's Davos or Devon who represents Jamie with Stannis, right? But
George does like to switch it around a little bit.
I really do like the idea that Davos could be Tywin Lannister to Devon being Jamie Lannister, and that the conflict, the heart and conflict is, what do I do when my son betrays my king that I'm sworn to serve, right? And he was sworn to protect. So anyway, I've been thinking about that. I was all set. It's got to be Davos. It's got to be Davos. It's got to be Davos. He's the one we care about. He's the one whose heart would be in conflict.
Mm.
Um,
I mean,
Tower.
let's say Stannis
I got a
orders
broken
Davos'
tower.
death in the burning of his daughter. He finds out about it. He orders Devon to bring him Davos's head. And then what does Devon do? Does he bring him Davos's head to this king that he's sworn to serve and protect? Or does he pull a Jamie and stab that old king right in the back instead of killing his father?
Yeah. Now it's hard for me to imagine Stannis ordering Devon to kill Davos. That's that part. I mean, you're right. That's the correct analogy of what actually happened, right?
Right.
That part's hard for me to imagine. But
Yeah.
so Kirsty says the Tower of Joy. Yeah, go ahead.
Tower of Joy to me parallels Tower Tarot cards. That's burning with a crown on top. War soldiers on, was that opium, milk of the poppy, milkmen, milk brothers, Milky Way, stars, dreams, sleep, death, sleeping beauty. And it says Sandman, Rose Walker, the vortex where a woman falls pregnant in the dream world and gives birth in the real world. And what does that say?
Rapunzel, throw down your hair.
Yeah, my stuff is so teeny tiny. Even with my bifocals and my glasses, I have a hard time reading.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
I also think Lyanna lost her eyes in Tower of Joy. Go back to the first one, please.
Tower of Joy parallels the Tower Tarot card, right? The broken tower. It's burning with a crown on top. Or soldiers on opium, milk of the poppy, milkmen, milk brothers, Milky Way and the stars, dreams, sleep, death, and sleep and beauty. So it's a lot of. Of course, the only way place.
Read it when I read it.
Well, one of the interesting things about that is that the only thing we have with the Tower of Joy is the fever dream, right? So it is very much about the stars and the Milky Way and so forth. So dreams, and then the second one was talking about the Sandman. Woman falls pregnant in the dream world, gives birth in the real world. Well, yeah, okay. Rapunzel, of course, is one of these princesses in the tower.
In the dream to make her fall.
Lost her eyes in the Tower of Joy. You know nothing, Jon Snow. In the Bible, the dead know nothing. Like Jon could have been born in death dream world. Huh.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there is something about Jon Snow from the get-go.
Did I tell you about the time I Googled? I Googled like, what does the Bible say about sparrows? Okay. I was thinking about the high sparrow and like, well, it feels like this has to be some sort of reference to the Bible. What is it? And this isn't exactly right, but essentially what Google came back with right away was sparrows do not sow. Which in the context of believing that Balon Greyjoy is the high sparrow, when you Google sparrows in the Bible, it comes back and says, we do not sow. You're like, oh, that's interesting. But anyway.
Yeah. Like Jon could have been born in death/dream world. Oh, if that's true, would his supposed death at the end of the fifth book, would that help him in returning to his body by whatever means is done to return to his body? If he was born in death, in a dream world state or whatever, would death's hold on Jon be less than what it would be like on Dondarrion or Cat?
Well, I mean, that might be symbolically what's happening, but of course, the most logical thing of what's going on in the story is that Jon has ghosts and is able to maintain himself in his second life, right?
Yeah. Also, probably the distance between John
Although what's
and
interesting about that, one of the things that's interesting about that is, Barrick loses. I mean, yes, he loses a little more of himself each time and so forth, but he's died a lot of times, and he hasn't lost that. He still has quite a bit of himself in there, right?
right.
Whereas we know the second life that you wind up blending. Of course, people argue, well, John's going to come back. He's going to be a blend of Ghost and himself, and
Mm-hmm.
probably the Ghost body will have to die as part of that. I get that, but Ghost is still going to live on with John. So
Right.
anyway, Blood Raven with his raven's teeth and the
We would leave.
Weirwood leaves as eyes, and him dreaming in tree parallels Sandman's Corinthian, a nightmare who has rows of teeth for eyes. Okay. Okay. I put and pulled up the verse of the Bible. It's Matthew 6:26. Look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? So anyway, I do wonder if that when you see that they neither sow, right. It's like, maybe that is a reference to the Greyjoys being the birds, and so the sparrow being the birds potentially.
Mhm.
I think I saw a translation that actually referred specifically to like the sparrows, but anyway, it's King James that came up when I googled
Mhm.
it.
I do like that.
um,
I mean, going back to our last one, I do like the death dream state when it comes to John, with the significance of naming his direwolf Ghost.
mm,
Oh, I mean,
which of
does
course
that mean
the dire wolves tell you what's going to happen with the
stillborn
story,
first
right?
and then resuscitated?
Well, and the dire wolves tell you what's going on with the characters, right? So,
Right, right.
um, so Rickon's story is a Shaggy Dog story. It's a long, long story where he doesn't really have a point in the end, right? Because that's what a Shaggy Dog story is. The um, the Gray Wind is dust in the wind, basically, right? Um,
Yeah.
Sansa is destined to become the Lady of Winterfell, probably, is kind of what lady means. And then I think George is somewhat torn as to whether Nymeria means that Arya sails west like Nymeria, or whether it means that she founds a new house by marrying someone, but being the female boss of the house. Um,
Yeah. But that's not.
anyway,
But I mean,
and
could John have been born, stillborn, and then brought back to life, and him actually on his second,
yeah,
his
Kirsty,
fourth
you've got to see the Alicia Patience video on that. Um, Alicia Patience, I'm not sure how you spell this. Patience,
She does the
YouTube,
fairy
Jon
tale.
Snow, White. I'm gonna throw in fairy tale. See if I can get it to come up here.
Is it
Um,
Snow?
it didn't work. Oh, well, it doesn't help them on Bing instead of Google. Let's try switching that here.
How dare you?
Um, yeah, Alicia Patience.
I remember when she started her channel.
Alicia Patience, YouTube, fairy tales, Snow White, Jon Snow. Yeah, it's a good video. We can find it. So hard to. It's definitely not a popular video on YouTube. So you want to probably.
I know all
Um,
about that.
uh, I may have spelled it too. If I'm subscribed to her. Let me see if I'm subscribed to her. I can find it that way. This is worth our time to track down. I know this is not the most stirring content right now, but if I can find Alicia Patience's YouTube channel for you, it's definitely well worth
I'm
your
subscribed, but I'm
time.
on my phone, so I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do two
Yeah.
things at once.
Uh,
I do know how to hang up on my wife if she calls during this live stream, so I do know how to do that. Because she deserves it. She knows not to call between 12:01
She,
my time.
I also have this fear that she may have deleted her channel or something too.
Mm. I know I'm subscribed to her, but like I said, I can't. It's been a long time since I've actually gone through my.
Well, she definitely deleted her Twitter quite a while ago.
But while you're looking that up, if John was
Yeah,
stillborn, if
fuck
someone
you.
gave him the kiss of life, gave them some of their life fire, John is already on his first second.
Yeah, I'm giving up here. That's not going to work for. I must. If she still exists, I don't think I have her. I have myself subscribed to her. And if she doesn't, then we're probably not going to be able to find her. Obviously.
Yeah.
Alicia Patience. Oh, wait a minute. I found it. No, it's not her. Or is it? What about this channel? I found Alicia Patience, but I don't think it's her. Or if it is, she doesn't have her videos anymore.
Mm.
Probably not her. Bummer. I'm not having any luck here.
Mm.
Wait.
Every time you say you're not having any luck, then you're like, oh wait, you're nothing but a tease. You know that, man.
It's not her. It's definitely not her. It came up with a. It came up with a Alicia Patience. Instagram thing, and it was not her. Yeah, sorry. She may have deleted her online presence. I know she deleted her Twitter.
This is off topic, but
that's unfortunate because that was a great video. But she had videos on Catelyn as the original Little Mermaid. She had Jon Snow as Snow White. I can't remember what else she did. She definitely some
I
ones.
talking to her on Twitter. She was saying that like one of the next videos she was going to do is about the huntsman, and I'm like, was that the hounds? She says, don't get ahead of me. But yeah, I mean, there other people that do it, but hers was pretty good about the weaving the fairy tale, pulling it out, George's story and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Thousand Eyes and One, Blood Raven is Arabian Nights symbolism. That makes sense. Throughout his arc, which always made me think old man ish. I don't know how to pronounce that. The storyteller. It sounds like Shira Seastar. Okay. Okay. Of course, I don't think Old Nan is a Shira Seastar, but the two main theories of Old Nan are that she's Rowan Weber, which I believe is correct, or that she's the Frey girl from the Mystery Knight, right? I think she's Rowan Weber from the Sworn Sword, but
here's something funny. I just found out when I lean in to read because of my freaking glasses, my nose, as big as it is, just keep getting bigger and bigger the closer I get to this camera. So I got to quit doing that.
Anyway,
yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough. All right, well, let's wrap up.
It's
almost an hour.
Yeah, my hands swell real bad. And then I want to say it was video, but when I was talking, I talk with my hands a lot. And I mean, it just looked like my fingers were nothing but sausages. And I was like, well, they say they can't
exactly, Kirsty.
10 pounds.
Exactly, Kirsty. And yeah, in the Order of Green Hand is a pretty good video on that. But I think she's Rowan Weber because Nana's nickname for Rowan. Absolutely. Yeah.
That would give her the ties to Dunk.
Well,
that would give.
I'm not promising that I'll be here on Friday, Chris, because I don't know if my voice can do a chapter. But
and we found out what happens when I read. It doesn't sound nearly as good. Because me and words have problems. But all right, I mean, yeah, I know.
It might be. We'll see how my voice does. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this? Is my voice good enough to sing the Dornishman's Wife?
All right,
Because it's a administrator.
I'll do the singing.
Oh, really? Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, you
That's
need
how
to.
much I
Uh,
appreciate you being here and missing you all this time. That if there's any
all right.
singing, um, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
look
there's
ahead and
definitely.
start practicing.
I mean, it's a chapter with it's a chapter with Mance Rayder being in mistaken identity. In this case, Glamour is he's being killed, right? So it's has to have the Dornican's wife in it because anytime there's a case of mistaken identity with Mance Rayder, for some reason the song about a wife, a Dornishman, and a sword has to be there. I don't know what that it could be. It's a total
Mhm,
mystery. See Triple Seconds episode 6. Anyway,
mhm,
yes, Howland parallels Hal's moving castle and Hal is Jenkins' pet dragon. Yep.
mhm.
Dad singing, big googly eyes there.
You better hit record, buddy. You ain't never gonna hear it again. But, all right. It's an hour. I know your voice has
We
got to
may
be.
we may try on Friday. We may give it a try here.
All right, but I do appreciate everybody bearing with us on the recovery process. Thank y'all for joining us
Me
today.
too.
We will do our best to be here Friday. But thanks again, Richard. I know your voice is hurting you, but I do appreciate it. And y'all take care. Some pretty good questions and
Yeah,
pretty
it was
good
a
topic.
nice
So,
stream.
so, all right, we will hopefully see you Friday. So y'all take care, have fun, and bye, Richard. Stay well, Richard.